Hi, this is Sue Jackson of the Book by Book blog, and I'm here with my Friday Reads. It's been several weeks since I've done a Friday Reads because we were on vacation, and then last week on Friday I posted my October reading wrap-up. So I'm glad to be back in the routine. However, my chronic illness has been badly flared up this week. I'm really not doing too well today, so I'm gonna try to keep this short, but I did want to at least take a few minutes to tell you about the wonderful books that I have started reading for Nonfiction November. So first up, as I explained in my Nonfiction November video, this has to be the first one for this month because I started it in January. This was my attempt to try to read two books at once, one fiction and one nonfiction, and I failed miserably. Reading a little at a time. It's divided. The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin, first of all. It's a best-selling book. Most people have heard of this one. I listen to Gretchen's Happier podcast every week. Really enjoy that. This is all about a year that she decided to take a lot of research on the topic of happiness and really take a deep look at herself and her own life and find small ways to be happier. She now has a bunch of books out. I bought this when it was the 10th anniversary, which was a while back. So first it sat on my shelf for a long time, and then I attempted to read it while I was also reading novels, which didn't work. So it's a year-long project, so it's divided into months, and I got as far as April earlier in the year, and then finally gave up, I guess. I'd pick it up every once in a while, but now this is the primary book I am reading. I am focused on it. I'm finally making some progress, and I'm up to September now, and I am really enjoying this. I knew I would because I like her podcast so much, and she has a similar sort of outlook as I do, and as I've written about in my own book, and that is, to find ways to notice the small joys in your life and have more of them. So that's very much one of the topics in here. So her months are divided into January is vitality, boost energy. February was a focus on her marriage, remember love. March, a focus on work. April, a focus on parenthood, which she titled Lighten Up. May was of great interest to me because it was focused on leisure, and she titled it Be Serious About Play. So, I'm really enjoying it. I'm also getting a lot out of it. Sorry if this disturbs you as a book lover, but I have dog-eared a lot of pages that I want to go back to and remember. So very much enjoying The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin. So I do have a lot of books on my shelves, but I also have a huge audio backlog and graphic novel backlog. So I am finally digging into some of the graphic novels and graphic nonfiction. First, I finished this last week. I started it during October for the RIP challenge, but I didn't finish it until last week. But I still want to talk about it because this book blew me away. It is an absolute delight, and I just want to shout it from the rooftops. This is a middle grade graphic novel called Beowulf by, I forgot the author's first name, Weinersmith and Boulay. Boulay is the illustrator. So as you can probably tell by the title, this is a take on the Old English classic epic poem Beowulf. Now, I've never read Beowulf, but my son read it for Brit Lit in high school, And I remember helping him a little bit with it. He was quite ill at the time, so we were doing a lot of his schoolwork from home. So I didn't read the whole thing myself, but I got a glimpse of it. And I read my son's essay that he wrote about it. So I knew a little bit about it. But this book is just, it is so clever and so playful and fun and funny. You don't have to know Beowulf to enjoy this. But if you do know Beowulf, there's a whole other layer of delight here. So I had that little background from when my son read it. I did, while I was reading this, also go back and look it up online so that I could read a little bit of it, see what the original looked like, and I looked up the story synopsis. So this pretty much follows the story, except we are talking about a child king who rules benevolently over the other children in the neighborhood, with a focus on making sure everyone is having a great time and having fun. And so let me just, I can't describe this book without giving you a sample of the amazing, clever text, which mimics the cadence and rhyming and alliteration of the original. So this is how it begins. Listen to the lives of the long ago kids, the world fighters, the parent unminding kids, the improper, the politeness proof, the unbowed bully crushers, the bedtime breakers, the raspberry blowers, fighter of fun killers, fearing nothing, fated for fame. And so you get at the beginning a little history of the whole line of child kings. And this is similar to Beowulf. Finally, we get to the current child king, Roger. So the author has also taken the names from Beowulf. Roger is meant to represent King Hrothgar in Beowulf. So there's a page about Roger. Kids who knew the crown line of Carl flocked to their cause, so that by the reign of Roger, so rich was the candy cash, so much bully gold was birthed, so well betoyed were boy and girl, that Roger, game giver and toy sharer, turned his thoughts to tree houses. This book is just so delightful. So Roger and his friends build a tree house, which they name Treeheart. And this is like child fantasy land, where the kids are just having fun all day and all night, playing games, eating candy, drinking soda. But of course, there's a bad guy, just as in Beowulf, named Grendel. In this case, it's Mr. Grendel, who lives next door. So here's the introduction to Mr. Grendel. He would stride the starless dark, staring over hedge, stirring his temper, harrowing his hearing, hating the gum smacking, the blowing of bubbles, the butt jokes and the belching laughter, the bursting of bang snaps, the vast volumed video games of no educational value whatsoever. So you can see the author is just so brilliant here in using that cadence, that alliteration, to both mimic the original while making a wholly new, fabulous story. And of course, the one, Mr. Grendel destroys their treehouse by bringing over cleaning supplies and educational materials. And the children are helpless against him until their savior comes. And that, of course, is Beowulf. She is a 5-year-old cousin of Carl, the original child king, who lives in the next neighborhood over. and she comes to save them from Grendel. So as I said, if you're familiar with the original, there's a whole nother layer here. Just delight in seeing these parallels. But even if you're not familiar with Beowulf, this is a fabulous, fabulous middle grade graphic novel. I just kept thinking while I was reading it how much my own sons would have loved this as kids. The words are just so fun and delightful. I saw one reviewer said this was like crossing Dr. Seuss and Roald Dahl. And the illustrations are amazing. I know you can't see the screen of the Kindle very well there, but the illustrations, I just know. I mean, I was pausing to look at them closely. I know my sons, when they were younger, would have just pored over those illustrations for days on end and asked us to read this book over and over. It is fabulous. If there is a child in your life, you have to get them this book. And if not, you should read it too, because it's just so much fun. And then I also read another graphic novel. I can read graphic novels along with other things because I can read them in little 5 or 10 minute chunks. So the pattern I fell into this week at the start of NonFiction November was during my normal reading times, before my nap and before bed, I would read The Happiness Project, and then for the last 10 minutes or so, I would enjoy a graphic novel. And so this one is actually a graphic memoir, so it's a good fit for NonFiction November. Layers, a memoir by Penelope Bagu. I know I'm saying this not the French way. I don't know how they say Penelope in French, to be honest, even though I took 3 years of high school French. But anyway, it's an excellent book. So I guess she was first published in France, her home country. She's written several graphic novels and graphic nonfiction books. She's won some awards. This is her memoir, kind of a coming of age memoir, moving from childhood through her teen years into young adulthood. And she tells the story with 15 or 16 separate short stories. And apparently these were taken basically from her diaries that she kept when she was younger. So what you get here is a very realistic, very relatable memoir about some of the joys and difficulties of growing up. She deals with some difficult things here, things like her parents' divorce and sexual assault, but she also deals with some of the happier things that she remembers. So very much enjoyed Layers. Okay, so this is the first story. Why don't you have a cat? You love cats. And it is the story of when she and her sister got kittens when they were little kids, and how crazy they were about the kittens, and how she had this cat for like 16 years until she was a young adult. And that it was kind of a crazy neurotic cat, but she loved it. So yeah. Sorry, it's hard to get a good picture without glare on there. But I very much enjoyed Layers by Penelope Bagu. I am listening to a memoir by Kate Mulgrew called How to Forget. She's written 2 very well acclaimed memoirs. This one is about the death of her mother and father, or their illnesses and death. So if that name doesn't ring a bell to you, she is a very well-known actress. She played Captain Janeway on the Star Trek Discovery series. And then she played Red on Orange is the New Black. Both roles she was just fabulous in. She's also done stage work and movies, but here she is talking about caring for her mother and father. Her brother calls her back home at the start of the memoir. She's in the middle of doing a show in Florida, and her brother says, "You have to come home, it's Dad." She immediately flies home. They go to the doctor with their dad the next day. He is the kind of guy of that age that put off going to the doctor. And it turns out that he's a lifetime smoker, that he's got lung cancer, but it's so late now. It has spread all throughout his body already. And the doctor says he only has a few weeks to live. So Kate stays home. Her siblings, I think there are 6 of them altogether. Her siblings come home. They are caring for her father. Her father's always been a very stoic man who didn't express his feelings much. And suddenly he's got this death sentence. At the same time, her mother is suffering from Alzheimer's disease. Something else that her father really did not want to believe, that he denied for a long time. So their mom's got dementia. Their father is dying of cancer. Yeah, it's a pretty heavy memoir. It is excellent so far, though. She's reading it herself, and it's nice to hear that familiar voice. This is particularly hard for me, and I knew it would be, but that's also what made it appealing to me, because it's relatable. My father died of cancer about 8 years ago, melanoma. Thankfully, he did go see a doctor. It was too late. One of his earlier doctors should have caught this, but it was melanoma. From the time he was diagnosed until the time he died was about 1 year. And especially, I've always been grateful for that time that we had that last year, but especially listening to this account of only having a few weeks with her dad makes me even more grateful that we had that year with my father. We live about 8 hours away, but my husband and I and our 2 sons, we went up there for the weekend a lot, like almost every month for that year. We spent as much time with him as we could, and I'm so glad. But I'm at the part right now where he's in hospice, where they're trying to decide, when to give him the morphine that will make him unconscious, but also without pain. It's hard because we went through the same thing. But she is, as I had heard, she's a wonderful writer. It's very heartfelt, but also funny. She takes kind of a look back at her relationship with her father over the years, different things that happened in her childhood and during her teen years, some rather shocking. So I am enjoying it. It's a very, very good memoir. This part's a little tough to listen to. I think the dementia part's going to be tough to listen to also, because we just lost my father-in-law to dementia last year. Now, he was older. He died at 97. He lived a good long life. And his dementia, it wasn't Alzheimer's. His dementia only got really severe at the very end, the last 6 months after he got COVID, actually, in the nursing home. But, I'm sure that will be difficult as well. But there's also kind of a healing feeling from listening to or reading something like this that parallels an experience you've had because you can relate to it. So it is a little dark, but I am very much enjoying How to Forget by Kate Mulgrew. Okay, that was not the quick recap that I was looking for, but I have been stuck at home for most of the last week, so it's really nice to talk to someone, even if you're not really here. So I hope you enjoyed that as well. I would love to hear what you're reading this week. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you doing Nonfiction November? Or if not, just tell me what you're reading.